Excalibur 2 and Marauders 2 are both out this week from Marvel Comics, and these are some X-Men books with certainly some less than predictable plot twists and developments. Honestly, I was shocked by things going on in both of these issues, and we're going to get into it, so spoilers ahead for both Excalibur number 2 and Marauders number 2. Excalibur number 2 starts with the team going to England to, I believe, find the previous headquarters, the lighthouse for the first Excalibur team from back in the 80s, Volume 1. It doesn't seem like they're able to find the existing lighthouse, but they are able to build a portal back to Krakoa. And for some reason, they have some interaction. Captain Britain has some interaction with some druid characters that leads to this sort of immediate creation of a new lighthouse, a new sort of, lighthouse with ivy all around the tower, which is nice, very aesthetically pleasing. It's unclear to me, how much, it's unclear to me as a reader how much of this has to do with the druid characters in this issue and how much has to do with the sort of Sleeping Beauty situation of Rogue, which the Excalibur team brings Rogue with them on this mission. So it's Gambit, Jubilee, Cape Pride of the Marauders gives them a lift there on her boat, and then the leader, Captain Britain, aka Betsy Braddock. But Rogue is there too, and I'm not sure if it's because they need her aura to set up a gate or what. I mean, otherwise it just seems sort of unsafe to bring this character with them. And I mean, another version of that is Jubilee did not bring her baby. She realizes, I can't just bring Shogo, my tiny little infant, my adopted human infant, out on this mutant mission. But either way, they set up this tower and the lighthouse. The X-Men or the Excalibur characters take a nap, and a big part of this issue is the dreams they have. So Jubilee has a dream about this guy, Apocalypse, and him. Almost seems like he's about to eat the baby in the dream. He's taking Shogo away, and he's saying, this is a human. We know that Apocalypse doesn't necessarily have a lot of pity for humans. He's really more of a Homo superior, fan more than the Homo sapiens. But that immediately triggers Jubilee. She wakes up and she has to go get her baby. But before we see her and the baby back in the waking world, we see another dream. This one's from Captain Britain's point of view, and I couldn't even tell you what's going on in this. Again, it's certainly less than predictable, very unexpected, wild. I mean, that's really something in this comic's favor, is that I can't predict what's going to happen next. I'm always sort of shocked about what the next plot development's going to be, and this dream is no different. It is Captain Britain following around some sort of literal firefox with a sword on it, and then eating some forbidden fruit and planning a coup against, I'm not sure who, the Secret Magic Council or Apocalypse. It's, who knows? It's not clear to me yet, but that's kind of the nature of dreams, right? Even comic character dreams. But Captain Britain does wake up because there's a baby eating her hair and mumbling burble, as in, I guess, purple hair. But that's Shogo, because, again, Jubilee was so scared she had to go back to the portal, back to Krakoa, bring the baby into this situation. But that turns out, I think, to be a bad idea because, again, the Excalibur team is attacked by what seems like, again, I'm not quite sure. I'm thinking it's they call it the Council of Akaba. So they think there's some affiliation with Apocalypse. And then Apocalypse shows up and he's holding it looks like Thor's hammer, but I don't think it's Mjolnir. I mean, who knows what it is, and does that hammer have any effect on what happens next? Because the big cliffhanger here and the craziest part of this issue is that it seems like Shogo turns into a huge dragon. Not just a tiny, companion-sized Lockheed type dragon that Cape Pride, that Shadowcat has in the Marauders, but a huge, fantasy, British fantasy, big, Lord of the Rings type or the Hobbit type dragon. But is it actually Shogo? I thought that I read through this one time and I was like, oh, Shogo turned into a dragon because the dragon's saying Shogo ? But it might be that the dragon just heard them yelling out or heard Jubilee yelling out for Shogo and is also curious because it keeps hearing this name. So I don't know, did the baby turn into a dragon or not? We'll have to wait till the next issue to find out. But anyway, moving on to Marauders Number Two. This is, of the two, I think I enjoyed this issue a little more than Excalibur. They're both pretty wild and wacky, and there's just crazy stuff going on. But the crazy stuff going on here begins with an appearance by Batroc the Leaper, who, generally as a sort of French acrobat villain of Captain America is often, with, that sort of snidely whiplash villain mustache, is often satirized even in the actual Marvel comics in which he appears. He's not often taken seriously, and this is not radically different from a lot of the previous appearances I've seen of him. I think the most serious we ever saw Batroc was in the Winter Soldier movie, when, early on in Captain America, the Winter Soldier, he fights a version of Batroc who is pretty much just like a special forces operative, no mustache. Just, they had a UFC fighter playing him, but I forget his name. Let me know in the comments who that was. I'm sure you remember the scene. But again, usually it tends to be that Batroc is the butt of the jokes. And in this issue, he is acting as a pirate, taking some of the life-saving drugs to a country club in America. And the Marauders board the ship, and they're stealing the drugs. It's sort of a Robin Hood situation, right? Where they are going to take the drugs, not to the rich who can afford them, but to an African nation that needs them just as much but cannot afford to pay. And this is all at the behest, both the Cape Pride side, the Shadowcat side, is operating at the behest of the White Queen, Emma Frost. Meanwhile, Batroc is under the employ of the Black King, Sebastian Shaw. But it's Emma's power play. She always gets what she wants, and what she wants is for Sebastian's power to be crippled to the point where he has to do what Emma says. And he ultimately does. I mean, the issue here ends, the big, not quite a cliffhanger. I think this was something people knew even from the cover, and there were hints of this even a month or so ago, that Cape Pride Shadowcat would become the third leg of the Hellfire Club, the Red Queen. So we've got the White Queen, Emma Frost, the Black King, Sebastian Shaw, and the Red Queen, Cape Pride, aka Shadowcat. So that's not so strange. What is strange, a little earlier in this issue, is after they defeat Batroc, the Marauders team, including Iceman, Pyro, Storm, and someone they meet up with, Bishop. He was in the first issue, but this is his first time interacting with the rest of the team in this issue. Everyone goes to Taipei, and they just start drinking. So this is, if I'm going to be overly critical of anything, I'm not sure. It's like, it's not like I'm against drinking like entirely, but it's like there's a lot of celebration of alcohol in this title. I think it might be taking it a little too far for like a T for teen Marvel comic. I mean, but they've all got their excuses, right? They're all in Taipei drinking, and say what? Pyro's excuse? Well, he's just Australian. Kitty Pryde's excuse? Well, she was written by Warren Ellis back in the 90s, so of course she developed a drinking habit. And even Storm, Storm has her history. I remember, back in the 80s when Claremont was writing her, and she met Forge in Dallas, I don't think she'd had a drink up till then, but he introduced her to champagne. But, no harm with all this drinking. I think there's a lot of drinking in the New Mutants title as well. But it does lead in this Marauders comic to what I might call maybe less than brilliant decisions. They go to the the Marauders team goes to a tattoo parlor in Taipei. They just wander in drunk, and the tattoo artist in there says, and this is after they heard about from X-Force number 1, Professor X dying. I'm sure he'll be fine. But, they react to the news by going to a tattoo parlor. The tattoo artist says, you can't hang out in here. This isn't a bar. You have to get some ink if you're going to be in here. But not everyone ends up getting ink. It's just Pyro and Shadowcat. And what Shadowcat gets is she gets the finger tattoos. She gets, the pirate tattoos, the letters written across her knuckles. And Pyro gets, even less well-advised, just a face tattoo of a black skull. It's just, again, it's shocking. I can't necessarily say I hate it. It's interesting at the very least. I did not see it coming, but that's pretty much what's going on in this issue. Excalibur, we got babies turning into dragons. Marauders, we got X-Men characters getting ill-advised tattoos. I don't really know what else to say. If you liked or even if you hated these issues, let me know in the comments below what you thought. You might also notice I'm drawing like a variation of Deadpool and Wolverine here, sort of a mashup of these characters. Deadpool #1 also came out this week. I haven't read it yet, and I haven't reviewed it, obviously. I guess it's not technically an X-Men title. It's not technically a mutant title. Deadpool's himself, the character's not technically a mutant, right? Even though he appeared in New Mutants 98 first, and he's often associated with X-Force and other X-Men characters. I don't believe he is a mutant, so they're not counting it as part of the X-Men line. But there is a new Deadpool title. If you have any interest in seeing me do some more Deadpool art or also a review of the new Deadpool comic coming out, again, just let me know in the comments. Otherwise, what do I usually say? Well, if you like the video, please smash that like button. Consider subscribing. And once you do, why don't you tap the bell for notifications so you'll always be informed when there's a new video coming out. And to all the artists out there, remember, you got to keep drawing. You got to draw every day if you want to keep getting better. So until next time, everyone, I'll see you then, and keep drawing.